But all praise to the Most High God. Let's go into these sacrifices real quick. Like the Levitical priesthood, it's not done away with, right? It's just that. Let's see something.
Yeah, because the order I got on.
Where is this at? Allows other tribes to teach, because you see in the kingdom, you see, that's what I want. Right, that allows other tribes. That allows other is those like the Levitical priesthood. It's not done away with. Where is this at?
That the Levitical priesthood was this
on their head in the midst of the Lord.
Okay, now we do.
This is what I was explaining to him about the verse I brought out in Exodus chapter 29 about how the priests, like the Levites, used to have turbans on their head and had meaty trees on their head and bonnets on their head to do the service of the Lord. It didn't offend them then, so it shouldn't offend them now, right? When I mean now, I mean the first century after Christ is dead. That's just to say something like that is just bad Bible, right? But this is his response to that.
Understand that the Levitical priesthood was dishonored in the New Testament. Like that's no more.
What you mean?
In the Old Testament, under the Mosaic law, at those times, the authority of preaching and to be a priest was particularly it was specifically to the Levites. But that changed when the sacrifice came through the tribe of Judah, being Christ. That
you talking about Melchizedek?
Yeah, because the order I want to pull the precept for you. I don't want to misquote my word.
Yeah, because the thing is with that is those like the Levitical priesthood, it's not done away with, right? It's just that Christ has given an order for the order of Melchizedek. Right? That allows other tribes to teach, because you see in the kingdom, sacrifices are still going to be given. Like Jeremiah, let me show you something real quick. Jeremiah 33 and 16. When you see all the prophecies about the I will never stop going to Jeremiah 33. I don't care where we are in the conference. If anybody want to say the Levitical priesthood is done away with, we're going straight to Jeremiah 33, and nobody ever has an answer for it. I've been cutting people with this verse for a long period of time, and nobody ever has an answer for it. So I'm gonna keep using it. Kingdom, you see sacrifices being given literally. I'm gonna read it in the NLT because it's really clear. It's way more clear than the KJV. It says Jeremiah 33:16. It says, "In that day, Judah will be saved, and Jerusalem will live in safety, and this will be its name, the Lord our righteousness. For this is what the Lord says." Remember, the Lord saying this. This is what the Lord says: David will have a descendant sitting on the throne of Israel forever. That's talking about Christ. And then the next verse 18, "And there will always be Levitical priests to offer burnt offerings and grain offerings and sacrifices unto me." So this is one prophecy about the kingdom, about Christ sitting on the throne, and the Levitical priesthood being still set back up and still giving sacrifices. And that's very clear. Like there's no wiggle room for that. Like it literally says a king on the, because they'll like to say, well, okay, well, Christ now supersedes that priesthood and we're under Christ. But right here in the same verse, in the same chapter, verse 17 talks about there's always going to be a descendant of David sitting on the throne. That's Christ. And it says Levitical priest, the priest of Levi, right? Offering burnt offerings and grain offerings and sacrifices unto the Lord. There is no wiggle room. There is no this has happened already. There is no, well, this doesn't matter no more, because this is a end time prophecy, right? This happens in the kingdom. That's where this is taking place in. The only sacrifice.
What is that? I'm sorry. What verse was that? 33 and 18.
33 and 18. There's more. I have more. Like about.
Now I wanna. Can you read that in the KJV for me? Because that's the Bible that I read.
I got you. Right. It says a man shall never want. I'm gonna show you it again. I hate reading this in the KJV because it renders it so weird. Like that King's English. I see why people prefer the translations other than KJV, because it makes the wording of things so extra. Like, because it says thou shalt never want a man. Regular common English just says there will always be. Like nobody talks like why would you even render it like that? That's nuts to me. Verse, I'm starting at 17. For thus saith the Lord, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel, neither shall the priests, the Levites, never want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings and to do sacrifice continually.
And that's drastically different considering the translation.
That's Old English. Should never want means it's always going to be there. It's
So
always going to
say
be there.
never
So you'll
want.
never
It just
want.
say want.
Yeah, it says never want.
Hey, you got your. Real quick. I'm looking at this Bible on my phone. I just want to make sure I ain't missing no words. Jeremiah.
Yeah, because it says
on here it doesn't say. It don't say never. It just says, neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer.
Yeah, I'm talking about verse 17. It's talking about the same type of terminology. Because verse 17 it says, "For thus saith the Lord, David shall never want a man to sit, never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel." Why? Because one's always going to be there, and neither shall the priest want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings and to do sacrifices continually. Why? Because they'll always be there. Every other translation says that in common English that makes sense.
So can we deal real quick with Hebrews 7 and 12?
Got you. And that I wanted to bring it all the way to this point because that'd be the thing I mean about trying to build doctrines off of Paul. We don't know who wrote Hebrews. People say Paul. Some people say what's the other person? Was it Luke? I forgot who else. But there's no common consensus on who wrote the book of Hebrews. But that thing of, well, now here later in the book, it says this is going to happen. So everything written before doesn't matter. We can't do that. Like that, like we can't use other things to supersede Torah and the prophecies. Because like you see, you see in, let's go back into this. I just switch it on my thing. There we go. Right, Isaiah. I bring this out like damn near every week. Isaiah 8 verse 20 says, "To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them." So we can't use what's written in Hebrews by somebody who we don't know, which really has problems in the book of Hebrews too, which I'm not going to go into today, right? Because we're gonna do the same thing we did with Paul again, right? We're gonna end up doing the same thing again. But we can't use that book to now supersede what we just read in Jeremiah chapter 33. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, and it goes against this, right? And you read this in the other translations, the NLT renders this the best, right? It says, "Look to God's instructions and teachings. People who contradict His word are completely in the dark." So if we're gonna use Hebrews or any other text, Paul's writings, anything else to now supersede what the prophecies say, you have a problem. Because the prophets, really Christians do this, but Hebrews do this too. We have to stop treating Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Micah, Nahum like they're men. These people, like, you want to talk about the mouthpiece of the Lord? They're being the mouthpiece of the Lord. They're not just men saying words. They're not just men saying words, right? Malachi 1 verse 1. Right? Malachi 1 verse 1, it says, "The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi." That's what they are. We want to talk about mouthpieces of the Lord. We're talking about coming out with things like as far as commandments and things. That's the prophets. That's the place they sit in. Not Paul. Not whoever wrote Hebrews. They're not about to supersede any of this. They're not about to just okay, now Christ died, so now all the things about the priesthood in the kingdom, scratch all that. Christ died. Why even be a Hebrew Israelite? Why call yourself an Israelite in the truth if you're going to say and teach the exact same things that the Christians teach? They don't have an understanding of the Bible, but you sound just like them. That's the problem. Like, we can't treat them like they're just regular. These are not regular niggas, man. Malachi. Oh, I forgot. You got the dude from IOCK, man. You should call the prophets niggas now. I mean, look, wrong. I mean, they we call black people, so I mean, I don't know what to tell you, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. These men are actually the mouthpiece of the Lord, so we can't circumvent that. And another reason why a lot of our people don't understand about how animal sacrifice or sacrifice in general, the Levitical priesthood, is going to continue after Christ's death, is because they don't first and foremost, they don't understand the law. They don't understand what type of sacrifice Christ was, and they also don't understand that there were sacrifices for things outside of sin. Like that's probably, like, you got burnt offerings. I wrote them all there: burnt offerings, peace offerings, sin offerings, trespass offerings, daily sacrifices, feast day sacrifices, new moon sacrifices. And that be the problem. When the Israelites will always bang their head when they deal with a Christian. They will pull out Matthew 5 verse 17 and lie. Like, at this point, like, I try to be respectful. Like, and this, I'm not talking about brother who I was having a discussion with. I'm talking about other people who be on the streets. You will get out there, pull out Matthew 5 verse 17, where it says, "Think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. I come but to fulfill." You get out there and start lying when you say the law of sacrifice is done with. Like, that's a lie, right? It shows you don't understand the law. It shows you don't understand there's other types of sacrifices. It shows you didn't read. I don't believe you read, right? And it shows that you don't understand prophecy at all, right? Or haven't read it, or not on a level to teach about it, right? But like I said, like, you had you had a daily sacrifice, but the Lord wanted a sacrifice going continually. Like, how many Israelites know that? How many Israelites know that the Lord he always want a continual sacrifice, just going? You think Christ died so that's taken away? You think he died? You think he died so the new moon sacrifice? This is making my hair getting crazy and crazy just having this. I don't even care. Screw it. We're gonna do it live, right? For everybody who knows what that means. You think Christ died so all of those are taken away? No, he died as a sin sacrifice to give us reconciliation with the Lord. All the prophecies that point to Christ point to him being a sin sacrifice, a sin offering. Let's look at these real quick. Isaiah chapter 53. Easy one. Bread and butter, right? Isaiah 53. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Right? His stripes are talking about his death. But it says he was wounded for our transgressions. This is sin. He was wounded as a sin sacrifice. Let's get some more about the prophecies about Christ. Daniel chapter 9. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'll just do this. Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. It says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity. All of that is talking about transgression, right? And to bring in the everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. This is talking about the Messiah, Mashiach, about him being a sin sacrifice, a sin offering. That's why it says in verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, right? It says the prince will destroy the city. This is talking about 70 AD. But this is giving you a timeline about the 70 weeks, a timeline that ends up showing you in what, like 30-ish AD, when the Messiah will die and be cut off. He'll be cut off to do what? Like how it said in verse 24, where it says to make reconciliation for iniquity. That's sin. That's what he's for. That's what he died for. Now, when you go to verse 27, it says, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. This is talking about the first Roman Jewish war, right? That happened in 70-ish AD, right? Which was 7 years. And it's in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblations to cease. That's talking about Titus Vespasian destroying the temple. That happened in 70 AD, in the midst of the week, literally in the middle or the halfway point between them 7 years of the first Roman and Jewish war. That's what happened there. The temple was sacked and destroyed. It says, and for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and the determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So this is literally talking about the temple being destroyed, 70 AD. But what is the key part I want to pull out of this? It caused the sacrifice and oblations to cease. That's why sacrifices have stopped. It didn't stop when Christ died. Oh, everybody just stopped the daily sacrifice, the new moon sacrifice, all the things, all the sacrifice in the order of priesthood. They just was defunct. Right? Christ died. Oh, yeah, you guys don't have to go. Y'all don't have to perform the office of the Lord anymore. That didn't happen. I don't know what y'all think happened. I don't know if y'all read the book. I don't know if y'all looked at any type of history. That didn't stop. You know what caused all that to stop? Titus Vespasian destroying the temple, man. Like that's how you do good Bible. Like, you know, so you talk about bad Bible. That's good Bible, right? And the reason why it caused the sacrifices to stop is because Leviticus, was it Leviticus? Yeah, Leviticus 17. Verse 4. I'm gonna read this in the NLT because I ain't got time, bro. I ain't got time. I got time, but not for this one. Leviticus 17, verse 1. It says, then the Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to Aaron and his sons and all the people of Israel. You see, like I said before about the Lord, this is how he gives commandments to all of Israel. It says, this is what the Lord has commanded. If any native Israelite sacrifices a bull or a lamb or a goat anywhere inside or outside the camp, instead of bringing it to the entrance of the tabernacle to present it as an offering to the Lord, that person will be guilty as a murderer. Such a person has shed blood and will be cut off from the community. You can't just give sacrifices anywhere. When a Christian opens up his mouth, or a Hebrew Israelite who opens up his mouth, when we say that the sacrificial laws aren't done away with, why aren't you not sacrificing? Because if I commit an animal sacrifice here without bringing it to the temple, I am counted as a murderer. My judgment is the same. Once the judgment of murder, you get put to death. You get cast off from the people, cut off from the people. So I'm keeping the laws of sacrifice by not doing it without a temple. You moron. And the thing is, Hebrew Israelites open up their mouth to say this. Oh, the law of sacrifice is done away with. Well, if the law of sacrifice ain't done away with, why are you not sacrificing? Because I'm keeping the law. The same thing you think you know, right? And that's what the stuff like that is what I be saying about how Hebrew Israelites, y'all, a lot of y'all be just putting fringes on, stop eating pork, and put a beard on your face and think that's it. Like that y'all don't be going into this law like that. Y'all don't. That's why you say stupid stuff. That's why y'all do things like that. And going back into my original point about Christ being a sacrificial, a sacrifice for sin, even Paul knew this. We can take this out of the NLT. You can go back to KJV. 1 Corinthians 5, verse 3. It says, For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures. What scriptures? Isaiah 53, Daniel 9, right? Zechariah 12. All these prophecies, Deuteronomy 18:18, bro. Where it talks about the angel. All these scriptures point to Hamashiach Yahushua dying for our transgressions and being that messianic figure, right? And this sacrifice that he's supposed to die for is for sins. Paul says it. The prophecy says it, right? The law points to it. Now knowing that that was the type of sacrifice he was, you have to realize by reading Leviticus, reading Deuteronomy, reading Exodus, and Numbers, right? We always forget about Numbers. We're going to read that next, actually. That there are multiple different types of sacrifices: burnt offerings, peace offerings, sin sacrifices, trespasses, daily sacrifices, feast day sacrifices, freaking new moon sacrifice. Let's read it. Christ didn't die that those would stop. Matter of fact, before we even go there, Acts. What are we doing? The same way I cut Mike B. Okay, let's go. All right, this is Paul getting commanded to give after Christ died. This is Paul getting commanded to do an animal sacrifice. This is do therefore, Acts 21 and 23. Do therefore this that we say to thee. We have 4 men which have a vow on them. This is the Nazarite vow, which you see in Numbers. To conclude your Nazarite vow, you have to give a sacrifice. A sacrifice must be given. It says, then take and purify thyself with them, and be at charge with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things where they were informed concerning thee are nothing, but thou thyself also walkest orderly and keepeth the law. Right? So he's commanded to give an animal sacrifice to conclude the Nazarite vows. And to prove it's a Nazarite vow, talk about shaving their head. Where do you see that in the Bible? Oh, I know, in Numbers, where it talks about the Nazarite vow. and Christians don't be prepared for something. Christians and Hebrew Israelites who believes the law of sacrifice is done away with, don't be prepared for this. That's why when I brought this out on Mike, he had no answers and kept trying to run somewhere else. You can bust people up in the New Testament, bro, and it'd be funnier than just going to the OT, right? But going into these different sacrifices that Christ didn't die for, Numbers 24. Let's just read down. This is laws of offerings. Even the Christians got it right here. Laws of offerings. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, command the children of Israel and say unto them, my offering and my bread for my sacrifices made by fire, for a sweet savor unto me, shall you observe to offer unto me in their due season. And thou shalt say unto them, this is the offering made by fire, which ye shall offer unto the Lord, 2 lambs of the first year without spot, day by day, for a continual burnt offering. So that had to continue to go. Christ didn't die for this to stop. Christ didn't die to where now we don't have to do this no more. We saw in Leviticus and Jeremiah 33 about a Levitical priest will continue to give sacrifices. These are those, that continual sacrifice that has to be given continually. What are we talking about, bro? Are y'all as much as y'all want to, as much as Christians want to accuse y'all of staying in the Old Testament, y'all use the Old Testament to cut people. Why don't you let it cut yourself? Why don't you take these scriptures? Why don't you take these scriptures, go apply them? Don't just stop at Numbers 15:38. Don't stop at Leviticus 11:7. Right? Don't just stop there. Don't go stop at Deuteronomy 28. Why don't you read Numbers? Why don't you read Numbers 28? Why don't you read Isaiah 56? Why don't you read Leviticus 23 about the high holy days and the ones that are accompanied by a sacrifice? Why don't we do that? Like that, it's crazy. And honestly, we haven't got that far. The more we read down in this, the more different sacrifices that it wouldn't make any sense that Christ would die for. Right? It says the lamb the one lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, and the other lamb thou offer at even, and 1/10 part of an ephah of flour for a meat offering, mingled with the 4 part of a hin of beaten oil. It is a continual burnt offering, which was ordained in Mount Sinai for a sweet savor, a sacrifice made by fire unto the Lord. And the drink offering thereof shall be the fourth part of an hin for the one lamb. In the holy place shalt thou cause the strong wine to be poured up unto the Lord for a drink offering. Did Christ die for that specific offering to stop? No, he didn't. He didn't. Look at these. Look at the other ones. And on the Sabbath day, 2 lambs of the first year without spot, and 2/10 deals of flour for a meat offering mingled with oil, and the drink offering thereof. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, beside the continual burnt offering and his drink offering. So not only do we have a continual Sabbath, one in the morning going into and another one for the evening, we also had, if that overlapped with the Sabbath day, one had to be given on top of that one. Lord's getting a double portion of sweet smelling savor by our sacrifices in the temple, in the tabernacle. Christ didn't die that this would stop. Like, look, are we not reading the same? Like, we can't be reading the same book. So this is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, beside the continual burnt offering and his drink offering. And in the beginnings of your months, ye shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without spot. Right? That's the new moon one. That's one for every new one that's at the beginning of our months. That's day 1, right? That's day 1. A burnt offering had to be given. Just like, oh, wait a minute, just like the one on the Sabbath, which is also kind of more proof text to show that a new moon is a Sabbath, even though certain people don't believe it is, right? Certain people don't believe it is, but why do we do the same things? Why can't we buy, like, was that Amos 8? Was Amos 8? I forget off the top of my head, right? When we were talking about when will the new moon and the Sabbath be over with so we can sell. So we can sell corn. Like the new moon is the Sabbath is the Sabbath, bro. They both, every time you see it, they have the same exact things happening. That's day 1 of your months. Day 1 of your months. And for all the people who want to keep the Friday, Saturday, Sabbath, that's cool. That's cool. But when it talks about on the first day, this is the first day, the new moon. That's the first day. Now, when you talk about 6 working days and then the Sabbath, if day 1 is the first day, right? And 6 working days from the first day, right? After that will be what? The Sabbath. So wait a minute. If the new moon is the first day, if that's day number 1, right? 6 working days, and after that means you're keeping the Sabbath off the moon. Wouldn't you do that? Isn't the Sabbath kept like 6 days from the first day, right? The first day isn't the first day of Esau's calendar. Isn't the first day of when you go on your calendar and it says, what is that, freaking Sunday, right? It's not going off of that. It's going off the beginnings of your months. That's day number 1. 6 working days, Sabbath. 6 working days, Sabbath. 6 working days, Sabbath. The new moon comes in, sets it all up again. You're doing the same thing. That's more proof about the new moon being this new moon setting the Sabbath and the Sabbath being reckoned off of the new moon. And to prove that a little bit further, we can come back to this. Leviticus 23. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. The first one is 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a day of rest and a holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Right? So what does that mean? The feast, if the moon sets the feast, we see in the Bible it says it's the sign of feast, literally. I forgot if that's SICARRI or if it's in Psalms. I believe it's in SICARRI, where it talks about the moon. The word month is named after the moon. It's the sign of feast, right? if the Lord said unto Moses in Leviticus 23 that these are my feasts, right? And then the first feast of names is the Sabbath. The only logical conclusion you can come to is the Sabbath is on the new moon. It's set by the new moon. That's the only way we can rationalize it. But for some people, it's easier since the white man likes to be off on the weekends, and conveniently enough, your doctrine works for you to be off at the same time as the white man is off. A lot of us just like to just pick that, and if that's what you want to do, that's fine, right? I mean, that as long as you keep it a Sabbath, that's perfectly fine, right? But if we want to be realistic with the text, we don't see that. We don't see that, right? And also to prove my point again about the feast day offerings. Look at this. On the 15th day of the first month, that's the feast of unleavened bread. Watch this. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. And the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the seventh day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So did Christ die that now we don't have to keep the qualifications and the requirements of the Feast of Unleavened Bread? I think not, because that's not the sacrifice he died to be. He didn't die to be that specific sacrifice. Like the point that I'm trying to prove here, and I'm trying to drive really hard at y'all's brains, is there's multiple different sacrifices. Christ died as this specific sacrifices. All the other ones don't stop now that Christ died. To believe so is Christian dogma and rhetoric. And if you carry that into the truth, you might as well just stay a Christian. You're lying on the text. You don't have a full understanding of the text, and you're going to run into a brick wall if you keep holding on to ideologies like that. That's what the point I'm trying to drive home. Now, I'm going to finish it up on these two scriptures, because, I mean, I already had plenty. Matter of fact, 3 scriptures. I want to hit one more. Let's go to some prophecy. I bring this out all the time. Isaiah 56, verse 6. It says, also the sons of the stranger Benakar, this is a heathen, right? Also the sons of the strangers that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it and taketh hold of my covenant, even him will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. His house of prayer is what they call the temple, right? It says, their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar, for my house shall be called the house of prayer for all people. And why is it saying that? Because in the kingdom, and when I mean the kingdom, I mean the time period when we're in rulership and dominion, when we have our temple that's been rebuilt, the other nations, after they've served their captivity, can come and give sacrifices, and they will be accepted by the Lord. If the law of sacrifice is done away with, why do we see in Isaiah 56 the heathen coming and giving sacrifices? What is that? Like that's a question I would then have to ask. Like that. This is what I mean by you're gonna run into a brick. I don't even, if I believe in that, I don't even know how I would go and try to defend myself against the scripture. I don't know how I would just have. You gotta look, brother. I gotta think about that. I'm probably cut, but I gotta think about that, and then we'll just move on. That's what'll happen if you're gonna hold on to that ideology. So now I'm gonna get these 2 scriptures before I close out. Ezekiel 44, verse 10. Right, and we know anybody who reads the Bible and deals with prophecy, Ezekiel 40 going on to the end of the book, kingdom connotations, like it's talking about the kingdom. So Ezekiel 44 verse 10, it says, and the Levites that are gone away far from me, when Israel went astray, and which went astray away from me after their idols, they shall even bear their iniquity. Right? Just like how you look at You look at how the Haitians are now, who we believe is a tribe of Levi, and the Levites who are in Africa and various places, right? The Lord's dealing with them a certain type of way because they were the rulers of our people as far as in righteousness. Since they went astray, the whole nation's going to fall astray because we don't have any religious leaders, right? So they have to deal with what comes from that. Because you see, what was that James? He talks about the ministers or the leaders got the greater condemnation. I'm thinking, I'm paraphrasing it, right? But the leaders, the people in leadership, have a greater condemnation. Oh, C3, that was the verse I was thinking of, right? Ecclesiasticus 43:7. It says, "For the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreases from a perfection." Right? And that goes with what I've said before. If the moon sets the feast, right, and we see the Sabbath day is a feast, that means the moon sets the Sabbath day. There's no getting around that, right? But let me finish this out. Ezekiel 44:11. It says, "Yet they shall be ministers in my sanctuary." Sanctuary is temple, right? It says, "Having charge at the gates of the house and ministering to the house. They shall slay the burnt offering and sacrifice for the people, and they shall stand before him to minister unto him." If the law of sacrifice is done away with, why are the Levites being commanded now? Again, even though they went astray, right? When we get brought back into our land, our kingdom's established, temples rebuilt, why are they ministering in the house? And specifically, this ministering is talking about slaying a burnt offering for the people. Like that's problematic for your ideology. It says they shall stand before him to minister unto them, because they ministered unto them before their idols and caused the house of Israel to fall into iniquity. Therefore have I lifted up my hand against them, saith the Lord God, and they shall bear their iniquity. And they shall not come near unto me to do the office of a priest unto me, nor come near to any of my holy things, and in the most holy place, but they shall bear their shame and their abomination which they committed, which is making reference to verse 10, right? But watch this, verse 14. "But I will make them keepers of the charge of the house and all the service thereof, and for all that shall be done therein." Right? So it's talking about for all the things that they've done as far as letting Israel go astray. They have to deal with what they have to deal with what they have to deal with all the random earthquakes, the poverty, the civil wars, all the things we see over there in Haiti. That's them dealing for them. That's their judgment for leading us astray. To where now Judah has to pick up. Now Judah got to pick up the slack, and the priesthood of Melchizedek. Now we got to pick up the slack, right? But even though that's the case, even though they have to deal with what they have to deal with, the Levites are still going to be ministers in the charge of the house of Yahweh. Like that has to be done. And to prove that there will be one, my favorite chapter, Ezekiel 37, verse 24. "And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I've given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever." Right? "Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them," as going into the new covenant, right? And our peaceful relationships being restored with Yahweh, us being brought under the covenant, the rod of the covenant, like it says in Ezekiel chapter 20, right? "As I'll make a covenant of peace with them, it shall be an everlasting covenant with them. I will place them and multiply them and set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. That sanctuary is the temple. Like when you look at it, even the Hebrew word says it. A sacred place, sanctuary, most holy place of the temple, of the tabernacle, Ezekiel's temple, which is making reference to the temple in the kingdom. So it says, "My tabernacle also shall be with them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people, and the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel when I set my sanctuary, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore." So this tabernacle is going to be set up when we get brought back into our kingdom. This kingdom, not kingdom. This temple is going to be set back up. The heathen have to come and give sacrifices. That's prophesied in Isaiah 56. That's prophesied in Jeremiah 33. Prophesied in Ezekiel 44. And the Levites are going to be doing the office of a priesthood there. This is all end time prophecy. This is all happening in the future. If all this is happening in the future, how can a law of sacrifice be done away with? The answer is it's not. And to say so is a lie, right? Lying on Christ, lying on God. Hell, I mean, well, I'm going to say lying on Paul because I don't think he really... I'd be hard pressed to find some supporting evidence for that. So I'll just say Christ and God, right? That's what you will be. That's what you'll be lying on. But with that, I pretty much touched everything I wanted to touch on, right? And I also want to say to the brother, if he sees this I wasn't using this to berate you or make you look a certain type of way. I used this as a teaching tool, right? Because I didn't even use most of, like, I think I probably went into 15 minutes of our entire discussion and use it as landing points or jumping out points to go into specific scriptures, to go into specific points, to touch on problematic ideologies within Israel that needs to be confounded, to be honest. Because what we be doing, what a lot of Israelites be doing on the streets sometimes, bro, like it just be problematic, right? And a Christian, the right Christian can really mess y'all up, but y'all lucky the Lord. A lot of y'all are really lucky the Lord doesn't put y'all in a position to be messed up by these Christians. Because if it was me or somebody like me, I'm bringing you back to the Christian church, bro. Oh, man. But yeah, man, with that, I'm going to say call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai and say shalom, man.